My name is Barbara Wasser, and I'm 38 years old. I build systems that don't break when people do networks that root around failure redundancies, that keep the lights steady when a single part overheats. It's tidy, logical work. In tech, reliability is love expressed as architecture. I thought I'd built something reliable at home too. 2 years ago, when Jace Walker, 34, then bright smile, even brighter ambition, pressed his palm against the sales glass of a downtown high-rise, I said the adult thing, it's beautiful. It's also $3,800 a month. He said the magical thing. It matches where we're going. He meant he was going places. I chose to hear we. We split the rent proportionally. I paid $2,900. He paid $900. It matched our incomes the way we both justified it. I've been a senior systems architect at the same company for 12 years. Most years I land around $240K with bonus. Not bragging context like a diagram in the corner of the page showing how power actually flows. Jace made $75K back then. He liked that the concierge knew our names, that the gym smelled like eucalyptus, that the rooftop pool lined up perfectly with the skyline for photos framed as candid. I liked that he was funny with the doorman, soft with my bad days, and on some level that he looked at me the way people look at high buildings, awed and a little grateful. 6 months ago, he got a new job, senior marketing director at a 40-person startup, base $125K. The morning the offer landed, he twirled me in the kitchen like we'd won a prize on television. He started talking about executive presence, how successful men invest in the image first, then the image returns the favor. He bought a blazer that fit like a story he wanted to tell about himself. He stopped asking me what time I'd be home. He started telling me what restaurant we'd be seen at. Little edits. Nothing a good system can't root around at first. The shift showed up most aggressively in public. Launch parties, happy hours cluttered with reclaimed wood and neon mantras. He'd angle his body toward people when he talked like a camera was always just out of frame. At first I found it charming. If presence is a coat, I've always preferred a cardigan. He wore a city. The night the image turned into a reality I could no longer subsidize, we were at dinner with his coworkers. The table had one of those tiny candles that makes everything look warmer than it is. Someone, Brent, I think, asked about the apartment. Jace lit up. It's incredible, he said. Panoramic city views. Marble the works. It really reflects where I'm at in my career now. I felt it like a glass clink inside my ribs. Not a crack yet, just the sound of something brittle. Brent whistled. Must cost a fortune. Jace laughed the way people laugh when they want to be envied. Well, when you earn what I earn... The sentence trailed off into the candlelight. I looked at him. He didn't look back. I paid for the rideshare home. He corrected my route choice once, then scrolled through his LinkedIn notifications with a small private smile. In the elevator, he checked his reflection in the metal panel like it owed him agreement. Upstairs, I poured water and asked plainly, "Why did you imply you pay for the apartment?" He leaned on the counter, casual the way men do when they want the kitchen to be a courtroom. People don't get the nuance, Barbara. I didn't say I pay it alone. I said it reflects where I'm at. It reflects where I'm at, I said, because facts don't take sides. I pay 76% of it. He rolled his eyes. God, you always make it about numbers. I'm a systems architect. Numbers are how I know the world is real. He sighed, dramatic practiced. The kind of sigh a person rehearses in the mirror to see how empathy will look on them. I make more money than most people. I'm finally in the top 20%. Maybe I should be with someone who's on my level, someone who isn't threatened by a successful man. I didn't say the first 5 things that landed on my tongue. I set my glass down. The sound was quiet and absolute, like a period at the end of a paragraph you've rewritten 6 times. Jace, I said I make almost double your salary. It's not about the numbers, he said quickly, as if he'd been saving that line for a day. He felt tall. It's about ambition, about drive. You've been at the same company forever. I'm going places. In my head, a diagram. On the left, what works. On the right, what fails. A line between them labeled assumptions. You told your coworkers the apartment reflects where you are, I said. So tell me, where am I? Why do you always interrogate everything? Can't you just be happy? Of course I could be happy. I had been. But happiness isn't a leash I wear so someone else can drag it through a party. Happiness is the quiet, unposted act of paying the electric bill on time and remembering the name of the barista who's been quietly saving for night classes. It's the far less glamorous math of showing up. But I looked at him, the blazer, the candle glow, the thumb tapping through. Congratulations, and I saw a man who had confused applause with competence mirrors with windows. He lifted his chin. Maybe I should date someone on my level. I studied his face. The man I'd covered for during his finding himself months. The man who'd chosen a view higher than his contribution and felt entitled to the altitude. The man who 6 months in had decided that success meant he'd outgrown the hand that held the elevator. I smiled. It wasn't anger. It was the elegance of a clean design. Maybe you should. He thought that line closed the scene in his favor. He smiled back like we were in some movie where the ambitious man wins the montage. He went to bed in the guest room to prove how independent he was. He lay there scrolling, basking in the glow of new followers. I lay on my side, facing the window, and watched the building across from ours turn its lights off one by one. The city kept breathing. Systems reroute. Power finds a path. At 8:57 the next morning, I stood in front of the leasing office door with a coffee and a calm heart. When it clicked open at 9, the property manager Sheila smiled the patient smile of a woman who knows the difference between residents and occupants. "Morning, Barbara," she said. "How can I help?" "I need to talk about the lease," I said, because sometimes the truest love language is a deadline. What breaks men like Jace is never the truth. It's the timestamp. Sheila's office smelled like printer ink and lemon cleaner, the scent of adult decisions. I'd stood there dozens of times before signing renewals, picking up packages, chatting about maintenance requests. But this time, I came for silence, the kind that happens when paperwork replaces promises. She pulled up my record immediately. "Renewal notice went out last month," she said. "Yours is up in 45 days. Perfect timing, actually." I nodded. Perfect indeed. I'll be giving my 60-day notice today, and I need to remove an authorized occupant. She glanced up. "Jace Walker." "Yes." My voice didn't even tremble. She paused, choosing her words carefully, as though she was afraid to step into a domestic minefield. "I'll need documentation confirming he's no longer a resident. Do you want me to send him notice?" "No," I said. "Not yet. I'll handle it." She nodded, respectful. Early termination fee would be 2 months' rent, $7, $600. But since the renewal hasn't been finalized, you're free in 45 days. No penalties. The numbers slid across the desk like mercy disguised as math. I signed. Initialed, dated. Sheila printed a copy for me and said gently, "You'll be missed here." Not by everyone," I said and smiled. That afternoon, I began Phase 1 extraction. While Jace was at work, probably telling his team about executive strategy over overpriced lattes, I was canceling our joint autopays one by one. Electricity canceled. Internet disconnected in 45 days. Streaming services removed his profiles. Jim revoked his guest pass. Credit card frozen the one he used for business dinners he never expensed. The car lease was trickier. His BMW sat downstairs in the parking garage, shiny and smug. It was under my credit because when we'd signed, his score was a modest 580. The payment, $650 a month, had come from my account automatically. I called the financing company. "Can't break the lease early," the rep said, "but you can remove your autopay authorization." "Do it," I said. That click, that soft mechanical confirmation, sounded like freedom disguised as paperwork. By 2:14 p.m., the system updates had propagated. That's the thing about networks, they obey commands faster than hearts do. At 2:32, my phone buzzed. "Jace, my card just declined at lunch. I'm with the CMO. What's going on?" "Me bank error, maybe." "Try your debit." "Jace," Barbara, seriously. "This is humiliating." "Me. Remember what you said last night about dating someone on your level? I'm helping you live there." No response. Just the 3 dots that blinked, hesitated, vanished. When he came home that evening, the performance began. He burst through the door, face red, voice sharp. "You humiliated me in front of my boss." "How?" I asked. "By expecting you to pay for your own lunch. You know I haven't gotten my expense card approved yet. Then maybe don't order the $40 entree." He glared. "This is financial abuse, Barbara." "No," I said, leaning on the counter. "This is financial independence. Congratulations." He stood there speechless, then pointed at the window as if the skyline might intervene. "Are you seriously ending us over money?" "I'm ending what money turned you into." His voice softened, the practiced tremor of a man realizing his leverage has expired. "I didn't mean what I said last night. I was just emotional." "Which part?" I asked. "The part where you said I'm not on your level, or the part where you pretended you could afford to live at mine?" He sighed, tears collecting but not falling a careful drizzle of remorse for appearance's sake. I love you, Barbara. Name 3 things about me you love. What? Go on, 3 things. He hesitated. You're smart. You're beautiful. You're successful. Those aren't things about me, I said quietly. Those are things about how I benefit you. He flinched like the truth had landed heavier than expected. That night, he posted a photo on Instagram, an old one of us on the rooftop, champagne glasses raised. Caption: Sometimes growth means outgrowing. On to new heights. He'd cropped out my reflection from the glass behind him. The next morning, I woke up before dawn. The apartment felt like a stage after a play, expensive, echoing, and full of props that had lost their meaning. I brewed coffee, looked out at the skyline he worshipped, and whispered to no one. This city rewards noise. I prefer signal. In 45 days, I'd have both. By week 2, Jace's new favorite platform wasn't real life, it was LinkedIn. Every morning, he'd craft a post like a sermon. Success isn't about how much you earn, it's about who you become. Some people can't handle your growth. Grow anyway. Each one got hundreds of likes from people who didn't know he couldn't pay for lunch without me. He'd pace around the kitchen, phone in hand, narrating his personal brand journey, while I quietly deleted my auto-pays in the background. That contrast, his voice bragging about abundance while I balanced the subtraction, made me realize something. He wasn't just living a lie, he was selling it. By midweek, he decided to celebrate independence with a dinner party for his coworkers. Translation, he wanted to show off our apartment, the marble countertops, the skyline, the curated success. I smiled. Sure, I'll be working late that night. He nodded, relieved, mistaking absence for submission. But the night before, I packed half my office into boxes and moved them into storage. One wall now looked bare, a subtle gap in the illusion. The next evening, while I stayed late at work, he posted a story. Blessed to host amazing minds in my space tonight. Success feels like this. You could see the skyline, the glasses, his reflection, and that empty wall behind him. Tiny detail, but a few people noticed. The comments rolled in. Wait, didn't Barbara have a painting there? Why does it look so empty now? He deleted the post in under an hour. 2 days later, Brent, one of his coworkers, texted me, polite but curious. Hey, random question. Are you and Jace okay? He's talking about moving soon. Said you're just downsizing. I typed back, we're realigning priorities. He didn't reply. He didn't have to. People always know when the show's over. The illusion cracked further when the realtor arrived. Jace had called a luxury agent, Todd, to explore his next space. I happened to be home purely by chance, or perhaps timing was my quiet talent. Welcome in, I said politely, handing Todd the lease paperwork before Jace could intercept. Todd's eyes scanned the page, brow furrowing. This is under Barbara Wasser's name. Jace laughed it off. Yeah, but we share everything. Todd smiled the tight smile of someone who's heard that before. Income requirement is 3x monthly rent. That's about $11,400 a month. Credit score, minimum 700. Will that be an issue? Jace's voice faltered for the first time. I make $125K a year. That's about $400 monthly. And your credit score, 620 something. Todd's professional tone softened to pity. That limits your options. For luxury, most buildings won't consider below 700. You might want to look mid-market. Mid-market, Jace repeated as if it were a disease. Todd handed him a card and excused himself. The silence that followed was beautiful. That night, Jace opened his laptop, his pride bruised, but not yet humbled. He typed a new post. Intentional downsizing. Growth isn't always up. Sometimes it's inward. The comments were instant. You're inspiring, Jace. Love this mindset. Minimalism looks good on you. And then one that made me smirk into my wine. Interesting timing. Didn't Barbara just end the lease renewal? He deleted it. Then posted a quote from some guru. When people can't reach your level, they'll try to pull you down to theirs. The irony could have powered a small city. By now, I'd moved most of my essentials into my new apartment, a smaller, quieter one-bedroom on the river. No skyline but peace in every square foot. Jace, meanwhile, was still pretending he could float above gravity. His stories grew louder, flashier, more desperate, a man trying to convince the algorithm he was okay. He didn't know that algorithms like love eventually learn your patterns, and they stop rewarding lies. That weekend, he hosted Brent for drinks. I was home in the study door, half closed. I could hear everything. Wow, Brent said, walking in. This place looks different. Jace laughed nervously. Just reorganizing. Barbara's decluttering. Brent's tone sharpened. Oh, because last week you said she moved out. I didn't hear Jace's reply, just the sound of a bottle opening and a silence long enough to count as truth. Later that night, another post appeared. New chapter loading. Sometimes you must release comfort to find clarity. The photo was filtered to gold, the caption almost poetic, but the comments told another story. Why'd you delete all the old couple photos? Are you guys okay? Is this about Barbara? He turned his account private the next day. I didn't post anything, didn't correct his narrative, didn't defend myself. Because that's the thing about pretending to be above someone, gravity always wins. And soon it would start pulling. By week 3, Jace's curated confidence began to splinter, not in private this time, but in public, where it stung most. The first crack came from BMW Financial. He'd missed his car payment, the one I'd quietly removed from autopay. They called him at work, right at his open plan desk. Loudspeaker, polite voice, unforgiving tone. Mr. Walker, we're following up on your past due payment for your leased vehicle. Would you like to resolve it now? The entire marketing pod turned. Jace's voice dropped to a whisper. There must be a mistake. My assistant will know. I'll call you back. He hung up, face-pale colleagues pretending not to hear. He texted me seconds later. Jace, did you cancel my car payment? Me. I canceled my car payment. Yours is due. Jace, you're sabotaging me. Me. I'm letting you be independent. Isn't that what you wanted? No reply. Just a string of dots, then silence. By Thursday, the expense report illusion crumbled too. His company card hadn't been approved yet, but he still insisted on hosting client dinners. $200. Bottles of wine, truffle pasta bravado, served with garnish. Except now he had to use his own card. And when the check came, his smile twitched. Just send it to accounting, he said. But his CMO frowned. We already did, Jace. It was declined. He muttered something about a temporary limit. Everyone knew what that meant. Later, I overheard him on a call, pacing the living room. Of course I can handle it, Sheila. I'm not some guy living paycheck to paycheck. The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. Then came the LinkedIn disaster. His downsizing by choice post, the one he'd crafted so carefully, began attracting the wrong kind of attention. A comment popped up from someone he'd worked with at his last company. Funny, I remember when you downsized from our office too, right after your review. 12 words, one truth bomb. The engagement went viral before he could delete it. He called me sobbing that night. Barbara, they're mocking me online. People think I got fired. Can you message that guy? Tell him to delete it. You still talk to people at TechFlow? No, I said. I don't control other people's memories. You told him to do it, didn't you? I haven't spoken to anyone from TechFlow since your farewell dinner. The one I paid for, I added. He went quiet. That quiet that means you've run out of lies that sound good out loud. An hour later, I heard movement outside my office. The smell of candles. Vanilla and rosewood, the ones I used to light when we were still something tender. I turned around and there he was standing in the doorway wearing nothing but a silk robe and gilt. I miss us, he whispered, stepping closer. We were so good together. Were we? I asked. Or was I just good at paying for everything? He flinched. You can't reduce love to money. I'm not. I'm just following the paper trail. He set his hands on my shoulders. I'm trying. Okay, I can fix this. I got lost in the attention. Tell me my middle name. What? My middle name, Jace. He blinked. Marie Lynn. I stepped aside. Tell me my hometown. Portland. Denver. He laughed, awkward. Okay, that's not fair. You never talk about... I talked about it every Thanksgiving. Silence. I turned back to my monitor. You never loved me, Jace. You loved what I made you look like. He stared for a long moment before retreating to the guest room, slamming the door. The candle kept burning. The next day, his desk at work was moved. Someone had made a joke about his downsizing in front of the team. He'd gone pale, muttered something about toxic culture, and requested to work remotely. They said no. By Friday, his growth journey posts had stopped. The last one read, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out who was real." No likes, no comments, just a timestamp 2:13 a.m. I didn't gloat, I didn't need to. You can't humiliate someone who built their life on illusions. The truth does that automatically. I brewed tea, turned off my phone, and sat in the quiet of my soon-to-be new apartment, small, simple sunlight spilling in. For the first time in months, the silence didn't sound like absence. It sounded like peace. 10 days before my move out. Saturday sunlight bled across the marble countertops for the last time. Boxes lined the hallway like silent witnesses. I was wrapping glassware when the doorbell rang, 3 quick knocks, 1 long pause. His family's rhythm. When I opened the door, they stood there like a committee of ghosts. Darlene, his mother with tears already threatening. Robert, his father, stiff with rehearsed disappointment, and Ashley, the younger sister, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Barbara, Darlene said, voice trembling with practiced kindness, "We just want to talk." Of course. I stepped aside, gesturing toward the living room. The luxury apartment that once impressed them now looked stripped and sterile. Half the art gone, rugs rolled the echo of an ending humming beneath every word. Darlene began softly, "This has gotten out of hand. Jace is heartbroken. You know he says you're trying to ruin his life." I set the glass down carefully. "He's doing a fine job of that himself." Robert frowned. "Sometimes men say things they don't mean. You have to be the bigger person." I looked at him level. He said I wasn't on his level. He meant it. Ashley snorted. "Come on. You make what, 150? He told us." I smiled, almost pitying. 240. Last year's bonus pushed it higher. The silence that followed was crisp, like paper tearing. Darlene blinked fast. "He said he made more than you." I gestured at the windows at the skyline he'd bragged about owning. "He also said he paid for this place. Reality's just not his strong suit." Ashley crossed her arms tighter. "Still, you're leaving him in a bad position." "He's leaving himself in one. I just stopped preventing it." Robert shifted the protector tone, creeping in. "You've got to have some compassion. You two built a life together." "No," I said quietly. "I built it. He posed in it." Darlene looked genuinely pained. "He'll have to move back home. You know how humiliating that is for a man." "Then maybe he'll learn humility," I said, folding the packing paper over another glass. Ashley's eyes flashed. "You'll regret this. Jace is a catch." I let out a soft laugh. "Then he'll have no problem finding someone else to fund his lifestyle." Robert's voice rose. "You're being cruel." Cruel would have been letting him keep believing he was self-made. Darlene's lip trembled. "What will it take to make you forgive him?" "A time machine," I said. "One that takes us back to before he showed me who he really is." They left soon after, Darlene crying quietly, Robert murmuring something about pride, and Ashley glaring over her shoulder like she wanted to curse me. When the door closed, the apartment exhaled. That evening, Jace came home, eyes glassy, breath sour with the scent of pity and desperation. "My family thinks I'm a failure." "You're not a failure," I said calmly. "You just mistook performance for progress." He dropped onto the couch, head in his hands. "I can't afford anything, Barbara. The car, the rent, even storage." "You can afford plenty," I said. "Just not this version of your life." He looked up. "That's my image, my brand." "Your brand," I said softly, "was built on my bank account." He stared at me, the silence stretching thin, then finally whispered, "Just one more month. Please, let me stay here until I find something." "No, Barbara, please. I'll die if I move back with my parents." I set down the box cutter. "That's a choice you're free to make." His voice broke. "How can you be so cold?" "I'm not cold," I said. "I'm just finished being your safety net and your scapegoat." 2 days later, he found a place, a $650 studio 40 minutes from his office. Street parking. No gym, no elevator. "The bathroom's tiny," he complained. "Good," I said. "Less space for excuses." He laughed bitterly. "You'll enjoy this, won't you?" "No," I said, "but you might finally learn what your level feels like." That night, he made his final attempt to rewrite the story. He posted on LinkedIn again. "Embracing minimalism has been transformative. Success isn't measured in square feet, it's measured in self-growth." The comments flooded in polite confusion wrapped in emojis. "Didn't you just post about luxury being your motivation? Moving so soon, is Barbara okay?" And then one from a former coworker. "Remember when you said people who live in studios lack ambition? Growth indeed." He deleted his account within the hour. By the end of the week, the BMW was gone, returned voluntary repossession. His credit score dropped to ashes. He texted me one line, "Thanks for destroying me." I typed a reply, then erased it. Because the truth was simpler, sharper, quieter. I hadn't destroyed him. I'd just stopped building the illusion he'd mistaken for himself. And when you remove the scaffolding, a facade always falls on its own. Moving day came wrapped in soft rain, the kind that makes the city look blurry, like it's trying to hide its own arrogance. I carried the last box out of the apartment that had once felt like a castle, now just an echo chamber full of expensive emptiness. Jace didn't help. He stood by the window, arms crossed, watching me instead of the skyline. His voice was small, unbranded, unfiltered. "So, that's it." I paused at the door. "That's it." He looked at me like a man realizing the elevator no longer stops on his floor. "You'll regret this, Barbara. You're walking away from someone who loved you." I didn't respond. Because love without respect is a velvet noose, soft, beautiful, and fatal. I left the keys on the counter, shut the door, and let the latch click like the sound of my own freedom signing off. My new apartment wasn't luxurious. It was modest sunlit with floors that creaked honestly. The first night there, I slept on a mattress on the floor, the hum of the fridge, my only company. It felt perfect. There were no city lights dancing on the walls, no curated skyline for validation, just stillness. I poured a glass of wine and whispered, "This is my level." 3 weeks later, I met Galen, a software engineer with a quiet laugh and a habit of tipping generously. We met at a coffee shop near my new building. I was reading documentation. He was debugging something with too many semicolons. On our second date, he insisted on paying. Non-negotiable, he said, smiling. I don't want to end up like one of those guys from your stories. I laughed. Smart man. He didn't brag about his salary, didn't post about executive presence. He asked me about my work, really asked. And when I explained a system design challenge, he listened like it mattered. The simplicity of it felt luxurious. A month after the move, I ran into Brent Jace's old coworker at a coffee shop. He looked surprised, then relieved. Barbara, wow. You look happy. I am. He leaned in. You know Jace tells people you ruined him financially? I smiled. Did he mention I paid 76% of everything? Brent laughed. We all figured. He was always talking about that apartment like it was his. Then last week, he asked to borrow $20 for lunch. I raised my brow, still living his minimalist truth. Something like that. He's humbled. Good, I said. He needed gravity. Later that week, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Jace. I know you'll never forgive me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I got caught up in the image. I threw away the best thing in my life for an Instagram facade. My studio has roaches. I miss us. I stared at it for a long moment, thumb hovering over reply. Then I locked my phone, set it face down, and finished my tea. Some lessons don't need an audience. Out of curiosity, I checked his LinkedIn one last time he'd reactivated it. The post was textbook Jace. Humility is the greatest teacher. Rock bottom became my foundation. Building back better, stronger, realer. Growth. Authenticity. New chapter. A comment appeared minutes later from someone brave enough to say what everyone else was thinking. Is this why you asked me for gas money yesterday? The post vanished in under 5 minutes. Now when I walk home from work, the city looks smaller, not because it changed, but because I stopped needing to climb it to feel tall. I think about Jace sometimes sitting in that studio scrolling through quotes about self-worth while the faucet leaks in rhythm with regret. He finally got what he wanted, a life on his level. And me, I got peace, the